Greetings to everybody, I'm back. I want to say very quickly before I start today's lecture that I had a fantastic time on Sarath the Mage's stream talking to Sarath and Sam Shadow about magic and various occult related subjects. It's a wonderful stream and I highly recommend that you go and watch it. I think you will enjoy it quite a bit. In this video, I want to cover a very controversial but important branch of Taoist transformation skills, necromancy and corpse magic. So far in this series, I've only talked about magical skills that I myself have practiced and tried at least a handful of times. So with contracting the land, I do use that skill very often. With telekinesis and levitation, although I haven't had much success with it, I've still attempted it, and with longevity and healing, I am using those two skills on a weekly basis. So this is the first time where I will be talking about a skill, corpse magic, that I haven't actually practiced myself. So the information that I'll be discussing here is not tried and tested by me. Nevertheless, I still believe that it does work. I've just never had the need or opportunity or desire to practice it. Full disclaimer before we start, I do not advocate the practice of corpse magic, baneful magic, and necromancy. I do not want anyone to try it. I would even go as far as to say avoid it. I myself do not practice this magic, I never have and do not intend to. I am merely providing you with information for the purposes of education. Do not try this magic, you have been warned. First of all, what is necromancy? The word necromancy translates as divination of the dead. It's a general term for obtaining information from the spirits of the dead in order to find out about past, present, and future destinies. Such methods could involve invoking loved ones who have passed away, performing rituals within graveyards, or making pacts with gods of death. It also involves the necromancer working closely with the darker yin energies. Corpse magic was famously used by sorcerers in southwest China. It became a popular practice within the province of Sichuan, and for many centuries it was actually viewed as a benevolent magical practice. In ancient Chinese culture, if a loved one died away from the home, a specially trained Daoshi, Taoist priest, would be required in order to bring the body of the person back to the family. Ancient Chinese belief states that if a person dies away from their home, their soul will never be at rest. Very often, rural families were too poor and could not afford proper burial coffins. Therefore, they had no way of bringing their dead loved ones home. It would be the duty of the Dao Shi to temporarily reanimate the corpse by utilizing the power of Fu talismanic paper. You've probably heard of Fu. They are rectangular slips of yellow paper, and written on them are various heavenly symbols and words that create change in objects and in the world. Usually they are written with red ink or chicken's blood. It was said in order to reanimate a corpse, all a priest would have to do is to know the date of birth, date of death, and then he or she would stick the Fu talisman paper on the head of the body, mutter incantations, and the soul of the corpse would re-enter the body, therefore reanimating it. It would walk and move on its own, becoming what is known as a Jiangshi, Chinese zombie. Dao Shis would dress the body in black robes and then walk the body back to its relatives in a faraway province or village. The Jiangshi would follow the priest all the way back home with its arms stretched out facing forward, unable to properly move its limbs due to rigor mortis. This method of delivering the corpse back to its family was much cheaper. Such practitioners are famously known as corpse walkers. Every town had at least one corpse walker who specialized in this magic. These practitioners provided this service for very little money, and as such, they were always busy. It is said as long as the yellow Fu paper remained on the head of the corpse, the body would never decompose. Sometimes these journeys of walking the corpses back to their families would take many days, so the Dao Shi would need to rest along the way. During the rest, the priest would simply take the fu paper off of the body and the body would instantly fall to the ground. Corpse walkers rested in special inns that were reserved only for Taoists who practiced necromancy. Think about the hotels of the dead. Such places were open all year round and were always busy. It is said that corpse walking was never practiced during the day or in warm weather, but at night during times of cold weather. The belief is that the veil between the earth and the spirit realm is thinner at night, and this makes the whole magical operation a lot easier. Sometimes several bodies needed to be brought back at once, so Taoists would practice the dead man's march. 5 or 6 walking corpses would be led, usually by 2 practitioners, a master and his student, a practice known as corpse herding. It was important for the practitioners to keep all of the bodies in line. Such journeys would often be dangerous as well. Taoists would travel through bandit-ridden places where theft and murder rates were sky high, but despite this, nobody, not even the bandits, would ever mess with a corpse walker. As they traveled, the priests would ring bells, strike drums and gongs. These instruments were said to have been haunting, striking fear in all of the residents nearby. Local people were told to never ever look directly at the bodies, as the spirits of the dead may wish to steal the chi of the living. This really is the walking dead. I've read in some Taoist traditions the bodies themselves would develop rigor mortis, and so even with the proper rituals and the fu talismans, they could not walk, and so they would hop. In China, they became known as the hopping dead, until the entire practice fell out of favor. Taoist corpse magic shares something with Taoist weather magic. Can you guess what it is? Both practices are now banned in China. Weather magic was outlawed during the Cultural Revolution, and corpse magic was banned in the early 1900s during the Opium Wars. At this time, drug lords were using dead bodies to smuggle opium. Entire sections of the corpse would be cut out so the drugs would fit inside. This became such a huge problem that the emperor and the official court issued extremely strict sanctions on the practice of corpse magic, as they believed that black magic was also involved. A separate kind of corpse magic can also be practiced. This is known as transferring a soul, or Shiji. The main goal of this skill is for the magician to transfer his soul into another person's body in order for that magician to continue practicing his sorcery with a new body, but still retaining his own knowledge and mind, but with a new identity. This skill is often called cheating death or escaping death. It's very questionable in terms of morality, but it's also very possible. There are 3 traditional ways to transfer your soul into the body of another person: getting the body of a willing donor, getting into the body of someone who has recently died, and getting into the body of a forming fetus. If you have a person who is willing to be your donor, usually an older practitioner will want a younger donor. The younger donor will have his soul cast into a higher dimension before the older one uses his body. Such a feat is accomplished by removing the spirit or soul from the person's body and leaving the empty shell behind. Remember, you want the body, not the soul of the person. This is known as a walk-in. So the body is different, but the mind is exactly the same. You would transfer your own chi, your own life force, to this dormant vehicle of a body. That's one way to do it. Another way would be centered on transferring one's soul into a growing fetus that's in the early stages of development, or a person who has recently died. So if you want to be born again, you would need to impregnate a healthy woman. So through the power of sex magic, the magician will transfer his soul into the growing fetus by getting a woman pregnant. He would then install his soul into this fetus and be born again, retaining his own mind, effectively cheating death. The last option would be to transfer your soul into a body that has recently died, therefore has recently become empty. This is where it gets very dark. In ancient times, victims who have drowned were the first choice when transferring a soul, because the victim suffocated to death, and the belief is that the victim's other tissues and organs were not badly affected. You would not want to walk into a diseased body, you want someone strong and fit. If the organs are working as they should, here we go, this is really dark, are you ready for this? If the organs are working as they should, sometimes coma victims are chosen for transferring one's soul. If a magician is very advanced, we are talking Master Taoist here, when a person drowns, the water guardians will telepathically communicate with that magician, telling him or her that a new body has become available and is ready for a walk-in. I told you this magic is dark, I warned you. You can see now why these practices are banned in China. Corpse magic is banned, but obviously ancestral worship is not. That's still a huge part of Chinese culture. In order to successfully accomplish the skills of walking into a new body, the Taoist must be experienced with advanced level healing magic. To understand death, one needs to understand life and vice versa. Knowing a lot about healing helps because you need to know how to reanimate organs. For example, restarting a heartbeat, activating brain waves, warming up the blood, stimulating nerves and neurons, transferring your consciousness to a dormant shell of a body. All of this is achieved by using a colossal amount of qi, unimaginable amount of qi, known as qi emission. Almost, we're talking crazy amounts. I mean, it would kill me. It would kill me if I attempted to perform any of these workings in my current state. I just don't have the required qi. Healing magic is an essential piece to the corpse magic puzzle, which I have already covered. Please do watch my lecture on the longevity arts. Within Taoist weather magic, thunder is believed to have the ability to make corpses swell up. When a thunderstorm begins to manifest, the bodies of the dead will swell to such a great extent that they will no longer be able to fit into the coffins, and so weather practitioners will be brought in to work alongside necromancers in order to dissipate the thunderstorms. A common problem would occur in these situations. Unlike necromancers, weather magicians in ancient China were seen as an elite class of priest, and usually they would only work for rich warlords and emperors, and the average person could not afford to hire one. They were very expensive. If a weather magician could not be hired, then a heavy object like a rock would be placed on the stomach of a corpse in order to reduce the swelling. In Taoist magical theory, graveyards are considered to be places that have an abundance of yin energy. So practicing a ritual within a graveyard will boost your chances of having authentic spirit communication. Taoists who can see spirits are known to have what is termed as having yin eyes. This means that you are naturally attuned to the darker aspects of the universe and are able to see, hear, smell, and sense yin entities, which are considered lesser evolved than yang entities. Yin spirits vibrate at a lower frequency. They are colder, darker, and do not have the capability to compromise or empathize. Graveyards are full of them. Some people cannot help but have yin eyes, and this may upset them. You can use graveyard spirits for divination of the dead. There are two types of death divination: speaking directly with a ghost by invoking it via ritual, or divining from a physical corpse by using bones. Before any death-related divination can be practiced, the Taoist must have a protective guardian present. The guardian is there to keep the practitioner safe, but to also discipline the yin spirit. So if I wanted to practice this, I would definitely have Zhuge Liang and Lamat present, just to keep me safe. In order to practice death divination, a secluded area of the graveyard should be purified. Next, 3 circles are drawn on the earth, or you could use rocks and stones to create these circles. Various stones and symbols that relate to the spirit you are with should be placed within the second circle. While standing in the center of the three circles, the magician should use his or her peachwood sword directed towards a grave or a tombstone and begin asking your desired questions to get the answers you need. This is known as raising the dead. A lot of other factors are taken into account before any ritual takes place. For example, the brightness and position of the moon. So a half moon means you need to contact a deceased female spirit, whilst a full moon would indicate a deceased male spirit. No moon would indicate an unknown spirit that you just don't know anything about, and a blood moon would indicate that you need to speak to a demon. Remember, every Taoist lineage does things differently, but that's generally the school of thought that I've always followed. The influence of Saturn is a big factor, and planetary influences in general. Some of my friends from the Become a Living God forum practice a lot of necromancy in graveyards, and I have one friend who told me his experience. He actually saw a blood moon one night, and he got in contact with a very powerful demon that ended up cursing his enemy and putting his enemy in the hospital. So this magic is very serious and very real. Another option would be to ask the spirit to appear physically. You can accomplish this by using incense smoke, as the spirit will choose to appear within the smoke. You might see faces, figures, eyes that appear to blink. You might even see words within the smoke which could answer your question. The incense you need for Taoist necromancy is red sandalwood incense. Some magical herbs that Taoist necromancers use, this one might surprise you, cannabis. That's right, Daoshi necromancers use cannabis in combination with ginseng because these two help quite a bit with revealing future events. The workings one could practice in a graveyard are extensive. Usually a graveyard altar will have 2 incense sticks. 2 sticks are yin and 3 are yang. Notice my altars always have 3 sticks because I don't work closely with the yin energies. In a graveyard you can perform a rite to obtain what is known in Taoism as a spirit helper. The practitioner will perform a ritual to get a recently deceased ghost to do his or her bidding. The ritual needed to turn the ghost into a personal servant is extremely challenging. It requires the practitioner to meditate, pray, and recite incantations every day for 110 days, not taking a single day off. If you miss one day, you've got to start the working all over again. It's a lengthy working. You have to meditate in the exact same place in the graveyard every night. The practitioner has to summon the ghost, then protect himself or herself from the ghost, then send the ghost to perform a task on behalf of the magician. This is not an easy spell. During the final 10 days of the ritual, the ghost will begin to materialize into a very disturbing form, usually resembling a grotesque creature. This creature form is materialized on purpose as a last-ditch effort by the ghost to distract the practitioner from his or her incantations, so the ghost may escape and the magician not be able to imprison it. Sometimes the ghost will even attack the magician during these last few days. Once it is under your control, you also have to feed the ghost at least once a week. Feeding involves the creation of a shrine in order to honor the spirit. To keep the ghost under your command, you should offer it fruits and water. Other times, the burning of spirit money is needed. These entities always seek some kind of reward for their services. As long as they do what they should, I think it is quite fair. You can get one of these ghosts to attack or destroy other living people on a psychic level. But instead of the ghost being punished for this, you will be punished because you are the one controlling the entity. It is basically a spiritual puppet. Therefore, all karma will be redirected towards you, which is why you shouldn't even bother attempting it. This is baneful Taoist magic right here, not something I personally do. If you want to curse someone more directly, I don't advocate it, don't do it, but if you must, you can use the method of gathering dirt from a graveyard. Keep the dirt sealed in a jar until you are ready to use it. Then empty the dirt near the front door of the person you are cursing. When the door is opened, a flood of highly toxic yin energy will enter the house, and it will create an imbalance which will manifest in misfortune for the occupants. So this is usually the part of the video where I talk about my experiences with this kind of magic. But obviously with necromancy, with corpse magic, I've never practiced it, so I don't have any experiences to share. All I can say is I want to keep it that way, and I advise that you also keep it that way as well. It's fascinating, don't get me wrong, and I do have a lot of respect for the people who use this kind of magic. They're a lot braver than I am, and they've also got much stronger stomachs than I do as well. So thank you for watching, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you soon.